Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Natasha. I have been working hard on my front garden, getting rid of a lot of the non-native plants and adding in native plants. So I'm just going to briefly show you that because there's not a lot to see at this point, but I'll talk about what I got rid of, show you the invasive vine that was really horrible, and then I'm going to walk over to a garden in the public park near my house where they have really mature, beautiful native plants. So we'll take a look at that and see what's in bloom and talk about what would be good for cutting. So let's go. So this guy is a really common grass that you'll see in a lot of people's gardens. It's called miscanthus. And it's actually invasive. It's very hard to dig out, so I've just chopped it down and it's already growing back, and I'm going to maybe smother it with a tarp as a way of getting rid of it so that I don't have to dig it out. But that is taking up actually a lot of room. It was the first thing I planted when I moved into this house because I didn't know any better. It was from a garden center, and now it is on me to get rid of. An invasive that I did not plant but is just insane is this winter creeper, and you can see just how thick the trunk is wrapped around this telephone pole, and it just goes up and up. So we sawed it off at different points, like right there we sawed, and we just have to make sure we've sawed all the different parts that come out of the ground, and then it's just dying up on the telephone pole. So it kind of looks ugly, but it was impossible to get off any other way. And it was taking over everything because it doesn't only climb up the pole, but it actually goes across the entire garden. So I'll just step back and show you the garden. So it's kind of cute. It's a work in progress. I think it has a lot of potential. It's partial sun, and so I've put in a little blue stem native grass. Over here I have American bittersweet, which is a vine. So I put that in thinking that can replace the invasive on the pole, and it won't be nearly as crazy. It'll just be an alternative to kind of keep that one down because the roots are very all over the place from that one. So with the new native vine taking off, I'm hoping that'll help that problem. And then just a few other things. I have some digitalis, penstemon hirsutus, actually, sorry, not digitalis, penstemon hirsutus, and I'll just overlay a photo of, or a video of someone else's right now in the neighborhood that is doing really well and that I'm hoping mine will look like very soon. Then I just have a lot of common milkweed. There's a few other native things I put in, but I can't remember what they are, so I am not going to talk about them, but once they bloom or in a future update video, I will show you those. But yeah, common milkweed, it's always fun to see. And it has not bloomed yet because it is pretty shady in that part of the garden. This garden, the front part gets good sun, and then the back is pretty shady. I put in a clematis vine among these are woolly violets, so that's good. That's native. In there's a little clematis vine that I'm hoping will grow up onto cover my porch that we keep painting and just never looks good. But what about with a clematis vine? That'll look nice. And then this is a purple flowering raspberry, which actually is in bloom, but this is new, so it doesn't have a blooming one. Sorry, it doesn't have a bloom on it, but this is a time of year where that would be in bloom, and it's grown more for the beautiful flower and the beautiful leaves rather than edible raspberries. So that's everything I have to show you here, and now I'm just going to head down the road to the garden in the park. So I'm very lucky to live near these community gardens. It's a nice pile of mulch. That's for people in the neighborhood to grow their own veggies and some flowers. But then there's also this pollinator garden that is run by volunteers, and the Pollinators Paradise Project, Hamilton Naturalist Club. Environment Hamilton. Now I'm going to overlay a video of what it looked like in earlier spring, because it was just so gorgeous with the golden alexanders and the wild geranium. Oh, and the wild columbine. It was such a nice combination, and this garden was just stunning at that time. So I'll show you that. Over here, oh, here's some birds. I don't want to bother them. We have a wild rose, and this is the native rose, not the multiflora rose that is invasive. So this one's more pink, the flower's a bit bigger, and there's less, like, it does have multiple buds, but the multiflora invasive one has a whole bunch of buds, and they're smaller little white flowers, and it's a pretty bad invasive in Ontario, but this is a beautiful native rose. Not a lot in bloom yet. We're in that kind of in-between stage in a lot of gardens where the beautiful spring flowers are done and we're waiting on the summer flowers. Looks like they had some wild indigo. It has a really gorgeous leaf. This is great foliage for cutting. And I'm talking about cutting while in a public garden, so I just want to reiterate, or I haven't iterated at all, but I'm going to do that now, not to cut from a public garden or any space that you don't have permission to cut from. Here's a little golden alexander that is still hanging in there, but this was just full of these in the spring. This is a serviceberry, a great blossoming tree that's great for cutting in the spring. And then it has these beautiful berries. Also a good time to use them as a cut flower in a large arrangement. It would be very striking to have some of these berries hanging out of an urn arrangement for a wedding, or, you know, just in a vase. And they're edible. So serviceberry, you've probably heard of it. It's an amazing tree. This is a currant. Really nice foliage. I have not tried cutting it yet from my own currant, but I will be able to update that later because I have a newly planted one, and at some point I'll be able to take a clip from it and test it in water and see how it works. But you can just see from this one how beautiful the foliage is. Another serviceberry. So this is a mulberry, and it's another one that there is a invasive white mulberry and a native red mulberry. I don't know the identification differences, but it would be important for you to look up if you have a mulberry that popped up in your yard. It is most often the invasive one. I'm hoping this is the native one because it's in this garden. And you can tell once it berries up, because the berries look a little bit different, but in terms of being able to tell from the leaves, I can't help with that, but it's just an important thing for you to know if you do have a mulberry. We have some wild grape here. I love that, really nice vine. And then anything else? Have some of our native honeysuckle, and it is in bloom right now, so that's really nice to see. Really beautiful yellow bloom on a kind of honey brown, love to focus on this, yeah, honey brown leaf. I have this in my garden as well. I've been cutting from it for years, and it is a great one. This one, they have a whole thicket of it in this garden. Very lovely to see. So that's another shrub that I highly recommend. They have some bee balm that is just budding and should be blooming very soon. That'll be really great to come back to. And then some penstemon. This is another one that I planted a lot of, and penstemon digitalis. And I'm going to have to wait till next year to see mine bloom at all, because they're just very small and they've missed their bloom window for this year. But next year you can see how that would be a great cut flower. This one's kind of done. A lot of the blooms are fading, but you can just pick those off and then you still have some nice ones. And it's a great spiky kind of flower for cutting. Dun, dun, dun. Bit of wild columbine hanging on. But, you know, plants are so beautiful even after they're done blooming. They just have a lot of texture, and the seed pods are really cute. Looks like there's a lot of grasses in here that'll be nice to see. Some of them are just coming up, but I believe there's some wild rye over. Oh, I don't want to step on anything. And then some brome. There's a couple different. This is fringed brome, I believe. It's always hard for me to focus in on grasses that I try to show, so sorry. But I really like bromes, and they're very easy to grow. Ooh, look, we have some rudbeckia budding, so that'll open soon. It's kind of a well-known cut flower. And then, is this tall meadow rue? Okay, I'm really glad I planted this. Unless this is something else. It has the leaves of meadow rue. I'll show you. That's what that looks like. And then, yeah, I think it is, and it is just fabulous. Let me see if I can get it all in the video. I mean, look at the sun hitting that. Come on, focus. Stop making me look like an amateur. There we go. Look at that. That is so beautiful. And can you just imagine if you had this in your garden and you could cut some from it? Putting that into an arrangement would just be so stunning. Wow. I'm kind of in awe at this amazing plant. And I will pop in a little video of what mine looks like in my garden so you can see how it looks like when it starts, and then this is the goal. So then there's a few, oh look, we have an oak. Oaks are just a must-have in the native garden. And we have a juniper, and the oak is not really cuttable. That one is just, you know, having a native tree that is great to have but isn't for cutting. Obviously you're going to have some of that as well. You can't only plant things good for cutting as much as I'm trying to. There are going to be times where I plant a tree because I want to have that tree. And oak is a good example of that. I just planted oak in one of my gardens. Anyways, juniper I love, and it is good for cutting. And there is this kind of spreading juniper, and there's also more of a classic conifer shaped tree juniper that are both native to Ontario. This viburnum is done flowering, but nice dark leaves on that. That would be beautiful to cut from. And when it did have its little white flower, that probably would have been cute. I don't know what variety this is, but I planted 2 viburnums in my garden, so I look forward to trying those out as a cut flower. And then we have our other native rose, but again, very different from multiflora. The flower is noticeably bigger and pinker in our native roses. But look how gorgeous and large this bush is. So if you love roses, you can grow native roses, and you can cut from them. They're thorny, but beautiful. So that is exciting that you can have a nice native rose. Oh, there's another juniper. That's the tall form. You can just imagine how you could cut from that if you had one in your garden. I think that is all that is in bloom. Echinacea will be coming very soon. It's got the cute little start of buds. So I'll probably visit this garden again and show you some of the summer flowers once they open up in all their glory. And then I think I'll end just on this, sorry about the focus, on this dogwood over here. It has done its bloom, just finished, because I saw it earlier in the week. I believe it still had its little white flowers, and now it's got just the remnants of them. But I have found that red osier dogwood is not good for cutting. The leaves tend to droop, but gray dogwood is good for cutting. And there's a few other dogwoods that I can't speak to yet, but I am slowly adding them into my garden, and in the future we'll be able to let you know how good a cut flower they are. But for the most part, I would assume they will be good. It's just that red osier one that I would just use as a cutting of the red beautiful branches after the leaves have fallen off. That's a really great winter interest shrub to have in your garden, and you can cut the beautiful branches to use in a winter urn arrangement along with your juniper and some other things, some birch branches if you have that. But yes, dogwood is a classic native shrub. There is a common dogwood that is not native, so just be careful of that, because that is often sold at garden centers. You don't want the common dogwood. You want the gray dogwood, the pagoda dogwood, the red osier, and I think this is a gray. So gorgeous. All right, well, that is everything in this little park paradise garden that I'm going to show you today, and I will be back to show you again, but let's end on this meadow rue.